Disney and Pixar Animation has kind of been getting stale. As with misses and behind-the-scenes shenanigans being a bit more prominent than actual hits these days, it wouldn't be the hottest take in the world to say that they have kind of been losing their spark. But it would be very disingenuous to pretend as if nothing great has come from these companies in recent years, as they show every once in a while that when they actually try, there is a reason why they are running the animation scene. Funny enough, the movie that tops all modern Disney animation is probably the one talked about the least, even though it can go toe-to-toe with some of the all-time Disney greats, and that movie is Soul. Yes, Soul, one of the 3 original straight-to-Disney Plus animated projects that had its theatrical release cut in many areas due to the global pandemic. And like many great tales, on paper, a movie that wasn't supposed to be anything special. Soul originally gained a large sum of its traction, not through genuine intrigue, but through slight criticism and mass humor around their awkward character designs, with our protagonist Joe Gardner being a large recipient of said humor. So many weren't taking this movie seriously to begin with. Not to mention that straight-to-Disney Plus model that left Soul in a rough position, as the movie couldn't be appreciated by most in its intended form on the big screen. Even as a pure cinematic draw, this movie just falls short when compared to its contemporaries, as it is on the more milder side when it comes to the extravagant worlds we are accustomed to from these Disney releases. And these extravagant worlds are typically where we see that Disney magic come from. I can tell you myself that through trailers alone, this wasn't an immediate must-watch for me. But when I eventually committed myself to it, I realized something very important. Yes, Soul is not your major Disney spectacle, but it makes it up tenfold through its pure thematic weight, leaving us with one of the deepest Disney movies of all time. You see, Soul looks to reflect on the very grounded yet very underrepresented topic of passion versus purpose and the intrinsic value of our own mortality. It's way too often we get a story like this. The main character has a dream of achieving something big and tries their hardest to achieve it. And while they do face some conflict along their journey, through their unwavering tenacity and a bit of fortunate circumstances, they end up beating all the odds and achieving their dreams. I'm sure that little synopsis alone can make you think of a couple movies. And you know, it makes sense. Having the protagonist, of which we have grown accustomed to and attached ourselves to throughout the story, finally reaching their goals, it not only gives us a feel-good story, but it carries those important life lessons of persistence, hard work, and dedication, values that would be especially useful to relate towards a younger audience. It's the safe option, but it's not really the interesting one. With Soul, you get a more experimental take on the classic format, which is intriguing because this is the more realistic and common story, with them saying, hey, sometimes you fall short with life never playing exactly how you planned it out, but that's still okay. Joe Gardner is a man that portrays all your standard protagonist traits: mass creativity to adapt to situations, deep-rooted passion at his core that fuels his drive, and unwavering determination to achieve his passion of jazz, even to the point that death cannot slow him down. But Joe unfortunately doesn't have the benefit of having his dreams come to reality. It's just simply not how his journey is supposed to go, and almost everyone seems to understand this, except Joe himself. His frequent attempts to develop his professional jazz dreams are constantly met with rejection, as now at 45 years old, he is still stuck in that chase. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with having a passion and wanting to pursue it, but this movie does a great job at highlighting that fine line between determination and obsession. Joe has become so caught up in that chase that he's willing to risk anything good in his life for simply an opportunity. His social life, his relationship with his mother, and the role which would ultimately be revealed as Joe's true purpose in life. He had developed such tunnel vision on this dream that it had blinded him from enjoying the other beauties of life. So much so that when Joe does meet his tragic end, it feels as if he has nothing much to show for his existence. If Joe's story ended right here, it would probably be one of the most tragic stories ever told in Pixar history, just because of how real it is. Joe's original life serves as a reflection of the prophetic irony of our own mortality, with how humanity's perceived greatest highs and passion can quickly turn to humanity's worst cruelty and addiction. Joe attempts to fulfill his human purpose, which is the value he provides the world while alive, to be through his self-proclaimed passion for music, as he wants his human experience to be justified by something he is dedicated towards. He wants his worldly impact to include the glory of being in the limelight and being recognized for that feeling he gets while in the zone. However, he is unfortunately very misguided, being highlighted by one of the Jerrys as having such a basic understanding of the meaning of life. You see, he believes his passion is his purpose, and that's what brings brings meaning to his life. But that's just not how it works. Because while everyone serves a purpose in life, not many are blessed enough to have it be their passion. That's why this movie makes it a point to emphasize that the value of life does not begin, nor does it end with your passion and purpose, as those can always change. But if my passion and purpose shouldn't be the root of the value of my life, then what exactly should? Well, Joe's antics in the transition to the afterlife land him in the direct crosshairs of the character 22, one of the first sets of original souls that serves as a catalyst towards the change of Joe's relatively simple outlook on life. Her flawed yet bold philosophy of belittling the actual value of human life serves as a cover of her true internal insecurities of if she is even worthy to live a life in the first place. But it also stands to place her as a direct foil to Joe's philosophy of a life fueled by passion, which, funny enough, is also highly flawed. So you're taking a character who has that will to live, however for reasons that lead to an empty life, and taking this character who doesn't have that will to live at all. A truly unlikely pairing that, fortunately enough, allows them to become vessels of change for each other, both figuratively and literally. At the heart of their introspective expedition, they're able to clearly identify what the spark actually is. In the movie, the spark serves as the final key that lets souls know that they are ready to go to Earth, and it's sort of the backbone behind 22's insecurity about living, considering that she hasn't been able to unlock it. The spark also narratively serves as the main key behind the central message of this film, and I gotta take a second to say how much I love the way this movie handled it. It used a clever mixture of slight ambiguity, as well as playing on the audience's own limited worldviews to set up the spark being one's passion or their purpose, the same ideals that made up Joe's philosophy, which would be clarified later on to be the incorrect way to live. Just drawing further parallels between Joe and us, and sort of having the movie say that, hey, from the outside looking in, it may be obvious that Joe is wrong, but we are just as guilty as him in our everyday lives. Because the actual spark isn't the passion we have or the impact we make on the world, but rather is it the beauty of wanting to live life itself. Alright, let me try to clean it up a bit. Soul is kind of taking an existentialism approach, with them saying that we are in control of the beauty and the value of our own existence. Our passion is just one way to bring value to it, and our purpose is the actual impact that we leave along our journey. Our passion can become our purpose, as some have the opportunity to share their dedication and talent to the world. However, hyper-fixating on this, when it's simply not meant to be, will cause you to ignore the rest of life's beauties, and will ultimately lead to a life unfulfilled. As the character Moonwind puts it, lost souls are not that different from those in the zone. The zone is enjoyable, but when that joy becomes an obsession, one becomes disconnected from life. Joe's passion is and will forever be in playing music. It's how he gets in the zone, and it's something he was willing to sacrifice everything for. But Joe's purpose isn't in playing music, it's in teaching it. His dedication lives vicariously through all his students, past and present, as that is how he will ultimately leave his impact on the world. And while that may not be his exact passion, this is exactly why his passion should not be the sole value of his life, because when it falls, it takes everything down in his life as well. Soul is telling us that passion is just one of the many beauties of living that should make up the value of life, along with others, such as enjoying the sights and attractions this world can behold, developing deep connections with others, and having the opportunity to constantly learn new things about the world around you. So don't limit yourself in the value you get from life based on an obsession. Deeper than its hulking thematic weight, Soul serves to further separate itself from its modern Disney peers by working diligently within the details, such as those ingenious moments of nonverbal storytelling, letting visuals and especially the music reveal a whole other layer of nuance. Whether it be the gleam in 22's eyes as she takes in the beauties of the world while in Joe's body, or just that calm and focused yet smooth visuals that are represented with Joe and others getting into the zone. This movie doesn't have to spell everything out for you, and that subtlety and vagueness really adds to a release like this that is inherently meant to be pondered over and over and over again. The voice acting was also very incredible, with Jamie Foxx especially showing that he is quite literally talented at everything. The comedy was actually pretty good, witty but not in an overbearing way, and it absolutely isn't used to suck the gravity out of high intensity moments like other Disney properties may do. The movie just saw its premise, took what it had, as simple as it may seem on paper, and made complete wonders out of it, with powerful storytelling, technical brilliance, and thought-provoking themes that can easily make this movie a classic in due time. It's an exemplary testament to the quality that Disney Pixar can still achieve, as they expertly use this medium of animation to offer fresh eyes and challenge conventions on this layered topic that is the human experience. It's movies such as Soul, Into and Across the Spider-Verse, Puss in Boots' Last Wish, that make it hard for me to accept truly mediocre releases under the excuse of it being a kids movie, because they show that heart, effort, and nuance aren't dependent on a PG-13 or higher rating. It's not impossible to develop these entertaining and visually stunning films that care for both surface and subsurface themes. It's just that mediocrity is selling more than ever. And I firmly believe that one major notion to get rid of this is to stop giving excuses under the guise of a project being a kids movie, because they can be done well if the effort is actually put into it.